Welcome to Yogaroo Online. Today's practice is all about forward bends. And forward bends are tricky family poses for a lot of people, and definitely me included. So I'm going to bear that in mind, and there will be options because I have to tailor for those who are really lovely and fluid in their forward bends and those like me that find forward bends very tricky. So what I would suggest is that if you are someone who finds forward bends very tricky, is to really be patient and try to drop that self-judgment and think of this as an idea that will help you to get out of your head of like, I can't, this isn't good enough. Is this idea that in a forward bend, basically a forward bend is any amount of flexion of the upper body towards the lower body. And it can be from a seated position or a standing position, any position. So if you think about it, I'm not flexing forward here. I am flexing forward here. So, and I can now already feel it in the back of my hamstrings there. This is a forward bend. So any amount of forward rotation of the pelvis is a forward bend for today's practice. Okay, now ways to kind of help get around the hamstrings, and I will remind you as options, is any amount of a bend in the front knee there will help to bypass the hamstrings just a little bit and get you forward a little bit more. We'll start off the practice with a lovely upright spine. We're going to try and forward bend with as much integrity to those curves of our spine as possible, because a lot of people have a tendency to come into a forward bend and they think this is them, their body forwarding. But as you can see there, my pelvis is actually tilted back. So this is often what you see with people who are, say, sitting on the ground and they're taking a forward bend. Their whole spine is rolling forward. We're going to work on a lengthened spine and the hip rotating. See my hip, literally, if you could see that ball and socket there, it's rotating on the ball there. The hip or the pelvis is rotating on the top of the femur there. That's not to say that a lovely little bit of rolling forward is nice. When you come to your full expression of your rotation, of where is comfortable for you, then we will, towards the end of the class, look at letting the upper body roll so that we can open up the back of the muscles on the spine there and just let them release. Forward bends are really beneficial for digestion. They're very good for headaches, insomnia. They're relaxing and calming. And again, they have to be, you have to let yourself find your version of your forward fold to allow them to be relaxing and calming, if you get what I mean. Okay, so going really gently, no self-judgment. We're going to do lots of warming up for the back of the hamstrings to make sure that you are able to take your version of your forward fold. Okay, so let's start up at the top of our mat there. And we'll take a few rounds of cat-cow to start with, just to start warming up the spine. So I want you to have a sense of your pelvis there, okay? So here's your pelvis, and you are already in a forward fold. So remember, I talked at the start that, you know, any amount of forward rotation of the upper to the lower is a forward fold. So here, my body is already in a forward fold. So we're going to take it into, now you're going to continue breathing because I'm just going to give you some alignment cues. So I'll try and exaggerate it so you can see my spine there. I've tilted my pelvis forward. This is usually our in breath, but continue breathing. This has brought the pelvis even further forward into its forward fold. And then in our cat pose, we lift the spine up towards the ceiling and we open the front a little bit more. Okay, so let's take a few rounds of cat-cow. And just bear that in mind as your pelvis rolls forward, you are rotating the pelvis there towards the ground and you are folding forward at the crease there. And as you lift the spine up, you are opening it up. Okay, so this is how we're going to start to warm up into our forward fold. So inhale, the belly softens, and exhale, lifts the spine up towards the ceiling. Inhale, the belly softens towards the ground. And exhale, lifts the spine up towards the ceiling. And then inhale brings you back to a neutral position here. We're going to go through a few rounds of child's pose flow. So we're exhale back into our child's pose. So it's literally just pressing your hips back towards your heels. Inhale back up to all fours. Exhale, lifts the spine up towards the ceiling. And inhale softens the belly towards the ground. So basically it's your cat-cow, and then we add on to it the child's pose. Exhale back into your child's pose. Inhale up to all fours. Exhale, lifts the spine up towards the ceiling. And inhale, belly softens towards the ground. Exhale back into your child's pose. Maybe let the head hang down here. Let the shoulder blades spread across your back. Inhale up to all fours. Exhale, lift the spine up towards the ceiling. And inhale, belly softens towards the ground. Okay, we'll get into a little flow now. And we're going to start with a cat-cow. So inhale, belly softens. Exhale, lifts the spine up towards the ceiling. Inhale to all fours again. And exhale, you're going to pivot your right foot off the mat and reach your left leg away from you. Reach your left arm up. Inhale, we're going to lift up to kneeling and reach the arms up high. Exhale, you're going to hinge over that left leg now. So I'm not mirroring you. You've got your left leg reaching out and you're kneeling on your right knee there. Okay, so we're coming into a side bend. So bring your attention more to the right side of your body there and the opening up through the right side of the body. So we're just warming up into the sides of the spine there. And then when we stretch the other side, we've done equal, and hopefully we'll be opening up the spine to our forward folds. Okay, so press that right knee, and if you need to blanket under the knee to soften it, press the right knee into the ground and reach through the right fingertips. Soften that shoulder though, make sure that we're not overreaching through that right side to the left side with the right shoulder. Okay, inhale, both arms up again, and exhale, pivoting around to all fours at the front of your mat again. Inhale, belly softens towards the ground. Exhale, lifts the spine up towards the ceiling. Inhale to all fours, and exhale, pivots the left leg off your mat now. Reach your right leg away from you. Reach the left arm up, and this is your exhale. Inhale, pardon my back, reach the arms up towards the ceiling, and then exhale, bringing that right hand down towards your right leg, reach the left fingertips up and over. Press into that left knee now as you reach through the left fingertips. Feel the sides of the spine opening up there to the left side. Inhale, both arms up again, and exhale, pivot yourself down to the front of your mat to all fours again. Okay, so inhale, belly softens, and then on our exhale this time, we're going to step that right leg just to the inside of the right hand there now, and inhale, coming up to a kneeling position. Okay, we're going to do a little bit of opening through the back of the hamstring there. So actually bring that right leg forward a little bit further than the 90 degrees. So have it a little bit further forward just to give you space to straighten and bend that knee there. Okay, so what we're going to be doing is place both hands on that right knee there. Now here's a perfect example of any amount. I want you to have a sense of the integrity of the spine, this idea of the pelvis tilting forward, and it will have to reach back to lengthen that leg out. Any amount. So as in any amount of that right leg straightening as we come through this flow. And just think of the tilting forward is your forward bend, and try to keep a length through the spine. So try to avoid doing this kind of a thing, because that's the pelvis tilting back, not forward. Okay, both hands to that front knee there now. So I'm going to play easy with this one because I get a lot of tightness at the back of my hips there. So I need to be very careful with my hamstrings. I will definitely be keeping a slight bend in that front knee there, but you work with your hamstrings and whatever they will allow you to do. And always be careful not to go too far with the hamstrings. It should feel like a lovely lengthening stretch rather than this kind of pinchy location stretch, if that makes sense. Okay, both hands to that right thigh there. We're going to inhale, lengthen up through the spine, And then exhale, we're just going to straighten out that front leg any amount and just hinge the whole upper body forward over that right leg there. And then inhale to lengthen and exhale to hinge forward. And it might not be very big movement at all, but remembering the minute you feel a sensation, the work is being done there. Inhale to lengthen and then exhale to hinge forward. Inhale to lengthen one more time and exhale. Hands either side that front foot, bring that right leg back and we'll move to the second side. So inhale, belly softens towards the ground and then exhale, step that left leg to the inside of the left hand there and inhale to come up again. Okay, so both hands to that front leg there. We're going to inhale here and then exhale, actually step the leg forward. I find that helps you get a little bit of space for the leg to lengthen. Inhale here and then exhale, lengthen that leg any amount. And as you'll see here, my leg can actually straighten a little bit more because this side is better than my right side. So each side you might have very different left and right sides too with this, the hips. Inhale to lengthen and exhale to hinge forward. And as you can see, I'm working really hard to move my whole upper unit forward without kind of rolling the shoulders. So it's almost like I'm trying to isolate the lower body there and pretending that the upper spine has not got any movement in it at all. The whole thing is rolling forward and that it's tilting over that front leg to bring the upper body closer to the lower body, flexion, which is our forward fold. Okay, hands either side the front foot, step that right leg or left leg back there. And we're going to do a similar thing from a standing position. So inhale, belly softens towards the ground. Exhale, lift the spine up towards the ceiling. And then inhale, step that right leg forward just to the inside of the right hand. Lift the left knee up and bring your hands onto your right knee there. Okay, and remembering this idea of, you know, a little back bend in that back leg if you need it, just to help lift that front hip up so that it's starting from a good position. It's going to tilt forward and back there. Hands onto that top of the right thigh there. Inhale, lengthen, and then exhale, start to really slowly straighten that front leg and tilt over it with your whole upper body. Inhale to lengthen, and again, the movement might not be that big for you, and exhale to straighten the front leg and lengthen over it. Inhale, lengthen through the spine, reset, and then exhale, lengthen over that front leg. Inhale to lengthen, exhale, hands either side the front foot, bring the left knee down, bring the right knee down, and we'll start again. Inhale, belly softens towards the ground, and exhale, steps that left foot just to the inside of the left hand. Tuck right toes under, lift right knee, and bring yourself up to your standing. Hands to the top of that right hip thigh there. Inhale to lengthen, and then exhale, straightening that front leg out any amount. Inhale to lengthen, and exhale to straighten. Pressing into the back of that heel there. Keep the leg active. Inhale to lengthen, and exhale to straighten. Lengthening one more time. And this time we're going to come up to the front of our mat. So press both hands into that front knee there. Pour all your weight into the front foot and step that right leg forward. Exhale, folding down. Inhale, press into your feet, reach the arms up high. And exhale, hands down the midline in prayer position. Okay, we'll come into our next flow now. So we're going to, now when we're working with forward folds, yes, we are opening at the back of the hips, but we still want a little bit of integrity to the muscles and strength, okay? We work with both strength and flexibility at the same time to ensure that the connective tissue stays strong and doesn't allow an overstretch. So we're going to do a little bit of at the start of each pose, we're going to do a little bit of contracting the back of the leg there to make sure that we're keeping the connection to our hamstrings. Okay, inhale, reach the arms up high. Exhale, hands down the midline in prayer position. Pour all your weight into your right leg now. Lift your left leg up. Push that knee behind you. Flex the knee, flex the foot. Squeeze the heel towards the back of the glute there. Okay, lovely activation of the back of the leg. And then place that left leg down now and reach the arms up high. And exhale, folding down, folding all the way down. Inhale, come up halfway. And exhale, folding down. Inhale, reach the arms up high. And exhale, hands down the midline in prayer position. Inhale, reach the arms up high. And exhale, just step that left leg out to the side there now. And bring the arms to shoulder height. Okay, so keep the stance reasonably narrow there. Your hips are facing to the side of your mat now. That right foot is your front foot and your left leg is back at kind of around a 45-degree angle there. Okay, so hips to the side of your mat. They may not be totally squared, but as long as you're square, your shoulders of your hips, then you are in alignment. Okay, we're going to do a little bit of side bending. So inhale, reach the arms up high. And then exhale, just hinge over to your left-hand side. Inhale, come up to center again. And exhale, hinging over to your right-hand side. Inhale up to center. And exhale to the left. Inhale up to center. And exhale to the right. Inhale up to center again. And then exhale, hands down the midline in prayer position. Pivot the feet around so that they're both at a 45-degree angle, and exhale, bend the knees, come into your goddess pose. Okay, we're going to take a few poses now with the legs wide, some forward folds here. So inhale, reach the arms up high again. Exhale, hands down midline in prayer position and continue to reach down. Nice, lengthen through the spine here, bring the fingertips down towards the ground. Okay, so this might be you, or you might be able to tilt forward a little bit more. But again, try and keep the idea of the whole tilt coming into the pelvis rather than the whole upper spine rotating forward. Okay, so it's like you're still trying to lengthen through the tip of the crown. And then inhale, press into your feet, reach your arms up high again. Exhale, hands down the midline in prayer position. We're going to do the same thing, but we're going to tilt the pelvis forward as much as it will go. We're going to lengthen through the spine, bring the fingertips down towards the ground. Now that we have our pelvis in the position that we want it to be, so I'll try and take it from the side so you can see, I have kept a good amount of integrity to my spine there. Now that I have the pelvis tilt forward, I will let my upper spine roll down towards the ground and get the lovely inversion benefits as well as our forward fold. And breathing here. Let's take a few breaths here now. Feeling the circulation starting to go. We're starting to rise. And feeling that little bit of pressure in the top of the head there, which is all that blood flowing through to the head. And then press into your feet. We're going to come up again. We're going to try a second version now with the legs straight. So if you're going to come to the version, now you can stay with that version or come back to it if you find the leg straight version is just too challenging to get you into any sort of a forward flexion. So just remember, the feet are at 45 degrees and I'm coming down in a kind of forward bend goddess. Or if you want to try the second one, bring the feet to parallel. Get the legs reasonably wide here, as wider is comfortable for you, because obviously the wider they are, the closer you are to the ground, and it helps you to get down towards the ground. Okay, we'll give this one a go. So inhale, reach the arms up high. Exhale, hands down the midline in prayer position. And of course, little bend in those knees is absolutely fine. If you start to hit the back of the hamstrings there, fingertips to the ground here. And then just feel the whole pelvic unit tilting forward here. Feel that stretch at the back of the hips there. Now you might be further forward than me. That just is my limitation. Or you might be further up. Okay, so if you're further up, if this is as far as your pelvis would tilt forward, do ground your hands into something. So hands to the top of the thighs there. Okay, so whatever version is working for you today, pelvis tilting forward, spine in its lovely neutral curves. Okay, and then we'll take a second version. Inhale, press into your feet, reach the arms up high. Exhale, hands down the midline in prayer position, little bend of the knee if it helps you. And coming all the way down, remembering, kind of come to your forward tilt first, kind of decide with yourself, this is where I am comfortable, and then let the upper spine roll forward so that the head can go down towards the ground. And just let everything release. Now, as you roll the spine forward, don't get caught up in your ambitions to be as far into it as possible, because otherwise you will bring a forced forward flexion to the spine. Just let it be more fluid. Let the muscles just let gravity bring the head down towards the ground rather than you gripping towards the ground. Okay, and then gently come up. So maybe bring the hands to the knees there, bend the knees. And pivot around to the front of your mat, hands either side of the front foot, and literally step that left leg forward to the front of the foot or front of the mat and fold down. Inhale, press into your feet, reach the arms up high, moving slowly now. You've come into an inversion, and exhale, hands down the midline in prayer position. Okay, you stay where you are. I'm going to come to the back of my mat so that I don't have my back to you. Inhale, reach the arms up high, second side now, and exhale, hands down the center in prayer position. This time we're going to lift our right leg up, flex the foot, flex the knee, reach that knee back there, squeeze into the back of that right hip there. You can feel the glutes activating the back of the hamstrings. And then bring that right knee down, or right foot down. Inhale, reach the arms up high. And exhale, reach the arms back, step that right leg back now, and find your way into arrowhead. Oh, no, hold on. We're going to ground that right foot down, straighten the front leg, and take our kind of narrow stance to the side of our mat. So my hips are working towards the side of the mat, but they may not be squared. We'll do our side bends now. So inhale, reach the arms up high. And exhale, hinging over to the right-hand side. So my left leg is forward now. Inhale, reach the arms up high, and exhale, hinge to the right. Or sorry, to the left. Inhale, reach high. Exhale, hinge. Inhale, reach. And exhale, hinge. We'll do one more round. Inhale, reach. Exhale, hinge to right. Inhale, reach. Exhale, hinge to left. Okay, inhale, reach. Exhale, hands down the midline in prayer position. Pivot those feet around so they're at that 45 degrees. And we come into our goddess pose. And then we're going to straighten the legs. Inhale, reach the arms up high. And exhale, we'll take our forward folds again. We'll come straight into our full one this time, but we'll pause on our way down. Okay, so same thing. My pelvis is tilting forward. You can see it from the side. I'm really trying to keep as much of a natural curve to my spine there. I'm not rolling forward yet. And when I've come to the point where I feel that I'm not at the end, I really don't go near the end point because that's where injury happens, but I'm close enough to where, you know, I can feel sensation. Okay, so I'm happy that this is as far as my pelvis wants to tilt forward, and then I let my whole upper body just roll down towards the ground, just using just gravity to help the upper body curl down and feel a nice stretch, particularly across your shoulder blades there. And then press into the feet, coming up, reach the arms up high, nice and slowly. Let's parallel the feet now. Maybe take the feet a little bit wider if that works for you. Exhale, hands down, midline in prayer position. And just coming down, maybe you can bring the hands to the thighs of the legs if you need the breaks. Or bring your hands to the ground if that's where they want to go. And remember this whole tilting forward of the pelvis. Get to the position where you feel happy, and then let the whole spine roll forward. Little bend in the knees is absolutely fine if that helps you, as long as the pelvis continues to tilt forward. I'm just taking 1 or 2 breaths here. And then gently press into your feet. Bring the hands to the knees there just to help you come up. And inhale, reach the arms up high. Exhale, pivot to the front of your mat, hands either side of the front foot, and step that left leg forward now. Okay, we'll do one more standing flow just to get into the back of the hamstrings there. Okay, so inhale, reach the arms up high. And exhale, hands down the midline in prayer position. Okay, we'll start off the same way. So inhale, reach the arms up high. Exhale, hands down the midline in prayer position. And I'm going to lift my left leg now. I'm going to bend the knee back, flex the foot, flex the knee, squeeze into the back of that hip there now, and then bring that leg down on your exhale. Inhale, reach the arms up high, and exhale. This time you're going to step that left leg back and ground the foot. So where I want the hips this time, it's like warrior one, except we're having the hips at kind of a 45-degree angle. So it's like warrior 1.5 is what I've heard it being called. So it's the hips are, my right leg is forward, my left leg is stepped back. I have a good bit of distance between the legs. I'm not trying to have them in line with each other. And my hips are facing towards the left corner of my mat there, okay? It's just little different ways to find an opening at the back of the hips there, and tilting forward the pelvis. This is a good position, I find. So inhale, reach the arms up high. And then exhale, we're going to reach the arms behind our back and interlace our fingers. Inhale, lengthen through the spine. And exhale, hinge to the inside of that right leg there. So coming into our forward bend. Keep the chest nice and open now. Reach the fingertips up and back there. So that will help you to keep the chest nice and open. Okay, and then inhale, reach the arms up high. And this time we're going to straighten the front leg and see how that feels. And exhale, interlace the hands behind your back and start to hinge forward over that front leg again. And this left hip might want to kind of travel back, and that's okay. We're not trying to keep them squared to the front of the mat. It's just a little way of kind of finding the stretch to the hamstrings and the inner groin in a different angle that might bypass some of those external hamstrings there that might be causing you to prevent you from fold forward. Inhale, bend the front knee, reach the arms up high. Exhale, hands to the hips, step that left leg forward now and folding down. Inhale, press into your feet, reach your arms up high, and exhale, hands down the midline in prayer position. Okay, so we'll do the same thing on the other side. You can stay where you are. Inhale, reach the arms up high. Exhale, hands down the midline in prayer position. Let's lift that right leg now, flex the knee, flex the foot, squeeze that hip back, squeeze the back of the leg, back of the glute. One more inhale here. And exhale, bring that right leg down. Inhale, reach the arms up high. And then exhale, we're going to step that right leg back now. And we're coming to this warrior 1.5. So my right leg is stepped back. It's at a 45-degree angle. My left leg is forward here. And my hips are they're not squared to the front, definitely. They're not squared to the sides. They're at this kind of 45 degrees towards the top right corner of my mat there. Okay, inhale, lengthen through the spine. Let's interlace the fingers behind our back. And exhale, start to tilt the whole pelvis forward. So remembering, it's all about the pelvis moving, rotating over the top of the leg bone there. Reach the arms up. That might help you to keep the chest nice and open. And breathing here. Inhale to come up again. And we're going to straighten that front leg and see how this version feels. Lengthen through the spine and start to, on your exhale, start to tilt forward just to the inside of that left leg now. And really feeling for sensations at the back of that right leg and stopping when it starts to get to the point where you feel, or stop before you start to get to discomfort. A light stretch and a nice stretching feeling rather than a pinching stretching feeling. Okay, and press into your feet. Inhale, reach the arms up high, and then exhale. We're going to pivot around to the front of our mat. Step that left leg forward now and fold down. Inhale, reach the arms up high, and exhale, hands down the center in prayer position. Okay, so that's all our standing forward folds. We're going to come down to the ground now. So let's do it with integrity. So inhale, reach the arms up high, and exhale, hands down the midline in prayer position. Bring the fingertips to the ground. Bring the right knee down and the left knee down. And you're going to make your way all the way onto your back now. Okay, so other hidden forward bends in our practice is literally just, you know, when you hug your knees in towards your chest. Again, you know, you're still forward bending, you're forward rotating the whole pelvis towards the legs there. And we've just bypassed the hamstrings because the knees are bent. So again, different ways to find the forward flexion in the hip there. Okay, and then just let the knees drop to your right hand side. They might move away from the body a bit. Bring that, or, you know, sorry, drop your knees to your left hand side there. Don't worry if they've dropped to the right. My knees have dropped to the left. Maybe place the left hand on top of the right knee there and kind of lengthen it away from you. So rather than pressing it, it's more like reaching it away from you. And then bring the right arm into cactus position if that suits your shoulder. If not, you can have it in a T shape or just down on the mat to your right there. So feel that lovely stretch through the outside of the right hip there, the right waist. And then really gently coming back up to center, we're going to take a little hug through the center. So hug the knees in towards your chest again. And then let the knees drop to the right hand side. Left arm comes into cactus position. Lengthen that right or that left leg away from you there. So rather than pressing or pushing, it's more like just running your arm along or your hand along the upper thigh there and smoothing the whole leg away from you. Feel that lovely bit of a stretch to the top of that left hip there, the top of the left waist. And then just lengthening both legs out on the ground in front of you. Okay, so we just do one or two little bits of flexion through the hips there before we come into our restorative poses. So bring your right leg up to, and you can bend that left knee, actually we'll bend the left knee, but make sure that you keep the pelvis firmly planted into the ground there. Okay, so left knee bent and right leg is facing up towards the ceiling. Now this might be you, or this might be you, or you know, it might be anywhere between 90 degrees and a little bit further towards the ground. And this is flexion also, so this is a forward fold. And it can sometimes feel harder because the upper body is planted now, so we can't get stuck in that whole idea of, oh, this is much better, I'm coming further towards my leg, because the upper body is planted on the ground. So press your heel up towards the ceiling, feel that lovely stretch into the back of that hip there now. Regardless of where your leg is, feel the sensation in the back of your hip there and try not to chase the 90 degrees or indeed the further forward towards your face. Just come to the point where you feel sensation, and that is your pose. Okay, bring the right leg down and then lengthen the left foot up towards the ceiling. Press the heel away here. And again, you might be here, you might be here, just staying with the point where you feel a little stretch at the back of those hamstrings, back of the hip is your version of the pose. Okay, bring that leg down. So bend, keep the left knee bent and bend the right knee, place the right foot on the top of the left thigh, and let's just press our left hand into our left thigh, our right hand into our right knee, and just draw them away from each other a little bit. So just a little bit of an external rotation there, just to ease out the back of the hips and the whole hip socket. Okay, and then just do the opposite. So bring the right foot down on the ground, bend the left knee, lift it up, place left foot on the top of the right thigh, and then right hand comes to the right thigh, left hand comes to left knee, and just draw them gently away from each other there. Feel that lovely stretch through the whole left hip socket there. Okay, rolling out your right side, and we'll get ready to move into our restorative poses. Okay, so I'm going to give you two options for our forward bend restorative pose, purely because these poses are difficult for a lot of people, me included. So I'll build it first and then I will guide you into it. So we're going to start with one of our bricks on its lowest height and then our second brick on its highest height. Okay, I'm going to sit up on one blanket. So just pop one blanket underneath your hip there. And I'm going to grab my bolster. My legs are either bent or straight, but they're wide here. Okay, and I'm going to bring this brick, the bricks, up close enough to me so that I can feel that I can rotate my pelvis forward and bring my chest towards that bolster there. Okay, so this definitely a challenging pose for me. So I will give you a second option if this pose is not working for you. Now, you can put as many blankets as you want on your bolster there to fill the gap, remembering that restorative yoga is where we are using our props to fill the gap between you and the ground, because we are supporting the muscles. We want to feel a gentle opening here, not a big stretch. Okay, so use as much props as you need to get yourself into any sort of a forward flexion that feels good for you. Okay, so I have my two bricks here, but I'm also holding the bolster because the bricks might not be as sturdy, but they're just more of a prop to hold it up. And this feels okay for me now. So I've got my knees bent, my feet are kind of around my bolster there. And I'm tilting forward just a small amount. And again, you might not need these. You might be able to bring the bolster. If you're one of those people that has a great forward fold, you can bring your brick to its lowest height and its mid height and come down further forward. So just very much a pose that you really have to suit your version. Okay, so that's that one. And I'm going to bring you into a second pose. So if you're happy to do that one, fire ahead with it. Or actually, maybe if everyone pauses and has a look at the second pose, just in case you find you've come into this, you've followed my guide and you're leaning forward, and after a couple of breaths, you're like, this is not for me. Okay, so maybe everyone has a look at the second pose. So the second pose is a supported child's pose. Again, the hips are in flexion. And so basically we're going to bring both bricks onto their lowest height there, if you can see them. And I'm going to bring my bolster on top of that. Now, again, lots of options. You can bring them onto their mid height if you find the lowest height doesn't work for you. Always remember, like, we hold these poses for, you know, a couple of minutes. So there is plenty of time for you to fidget if you're not comfortable, because really, you're doing yourself a disservice and the practice a disservice if you don't actually fidget till you find comfort, because the whole practice is about the fact that the body is in ease in the pose. If it's not in ease, then the nervous system cannot smooth itself out and restore, basically. Okay, so second version is child's pose. Now, you might be somebody who it's great to have as many blankets as you can. You might be somebody who likes a little bit of padding under their knees. So we're going to pop that there and bring this towards me. And basically, we're just coming over our bolster there into a supported child's pose. Okay, so I'll just show you this, and then I will show you lots of different versions if you have knee issues, ankle issues, and things like that. So here is the basic pose. Now, you will be lying with your head facing towards your left or your right. Halfway through the pose, I will guide you to go to the opposite side. Now, I'm not going to come down because I've got my headphones in, so I'll be on my chin there. So here is my restorative child's pose. Okay, and the whole unit here is in forward flexion. Okay, so that's the basic version of it. If you're someone that finds this amount of flexion in the knees here doesn't work for you, then you can roll up a blanket and wedge it into your knees there to take some of the flexion out of it. So you'll need to do it on both knees, even if it's just one knee that causes you bother. So that's another version there. Or you can have them folded. You know, it feels a little uncomfortable on my calves there, but as I come forward, I'll kind of feel that it's just taken some of the forward flexion out of the knee there, and the pressure isn't on the calf anymore. That doesn't matter if your hip is up a little bit higher than usually it would be. Okay, that's another version. And then the final version is, some people find that this here, the ankle, can be a little bit uncomfortable. So if that's the case for you, you're going to roll up your blanket and then pop it along the back there, and just let this part, the rolled up bit of the blanket, lift the inner part of your ankle there just a little bit to take that intense flattening of the ankle out of the pose. Okay, so I'm going to take this one. And so remembering, you're taking this supported child's pose, or this version where my legs are out front and I am coming into a forward fold. Actually, this is lovely too. So actually, if you want to take a child's pose forward, it's like a blend of both of them. Let's do that one, okay? So lots of options for you today. Hopefully you can find, everyone will find something that works for them. Okay, so I've got my ankle roll here. I have my blanket underneath my knee there, okay? I have my brick on its lowest height and its mid height. So just a reminder, low, mid, high. So it's on mid and low. My bolster is nestled in my hips there. I'll bring the bolster down on top of my bricks. A nice pillow blanket there. And then you can just rest your chest again. I'm going to be on my chin, but I'll guide you both sides. So let's settle into, there's 3 different versions there for you to play around with. So just finding something, hopefully, that can help you to come into a forward bend, which are tricky poses within our restoratives. Okay, so if you just come on to your preferred cheek, left or right, and we'll just settle into the pose, and then in a minute or two, I will just guide you to swap over to the other side, just to make sure that we have equaled the muscles of the neck. Okay, so just feel the weight now pressing into the front body, pressing into your bolster. And with your breath, can you feel a lovely opening to the back body there? So the shoulder blades spreading across your back on your inhale. And then coming together on your exhale. And with these kind of poses where the chest is resting on a prop, a bolster, you really start to feel the sense of the expanse of the breath. I can kind of notice how much air we are taking into our system and how much our rib cage expands through our breath. Okay, so maybe gently just lifting your head up and coming onto the opposite cheek that you were on, just to make sure we equaled both sides out. And possibly we won't hold this pose for as long as we hold our other poses. Okay, get ready to come out of this pose now. So just press both hands into the ground, either side of your bolster there, and lift yourself up. Okay, just regardless of what pose you were in, let's just clear our mat now, take some of the props off. So clear your bolster off, clear your bricks off there, and maybe leave one blanket available for you on your mat there. We're just going to do a little counter pose for the back. And then we're going to come into a twist. A twist is always a great pose to counter pose as well. Okay, so with your one blanket, have it at a 4-fold. Okay, so nice wide fold. Okay. And then I'm gently going to roll it up. So not particularly a tight one. So all we're going to do is we're going to lie with our back, our hips on this. So I want to open up the front of the hip flexors here because we've done a lot of forward benting. Okay, so we want our, there's my roll. It's not going to be very high at all because it doesn't take much to counter pose this. And we don't want it to be so high that we over arch our lower back there. Okay, so bring it to the center of your mat there. So where you want your hips to come down is really, so the opposite side to the crease. So it's, you know, there's my front crease there where the hip comes towards, or the spine, or the pelvis comes towards the leg. So I just want that to be exactly on top of my little roll there. And I'm going to lengthen my legs away and then gently bring myself down onto my forearms and come nice and slowly now. And you'll notice now that it really doesn't take much of a roll there to just lengthen out the front of the hips. So have a sense of those. So if you bring your fingertips to those 2 pointy hip bones, so rather than allowing them to tilt up, have a sense of them kind of tilting a little bit down towards the ground, just so that that lower back doesn't overarch here. And then with them tilting down towards the ground, in the section of the ground where your spine is, that again will lengthen the front of the hip flexors there. It'll kind of open up the gap between the leg and the hip. Okay, and just let the legs be soft. Let the feet roll out to the sides. And just feel for that lovely opening at the front of the hips there, that section that we've been closing over for the class. Now the arms can just be either side of the body with the palms facing up, or you can bring your arms into cactus position if you'd like to do a little bit of shoulder work. Just whatever feels good for you. And just keep checking in with that lower back just to make sure that it hasn't overarched, and reposition your pelvis with that cue I gave you there of those hip bones moving down a little bit to make sure that the lower back isn't overarching. Okay, so gently bend the knees up there. And take the blanket out from underneath you. Lift the hips, take the blanket out from underneath you, and gently roll over to your right hand side. Use your left hand to lift you up. Okay, so one last little counter pose. Bring your bolster to the top of your mat there. And take your blanket that you had rolled and unroll it. Let's just pop that on the ground there in front of your bolster. So it's nice to have a little bit of padding. We're just going to come into a twist now. So bring your left hip up against the bolster. Maybe have a bit of an inch, maybe a bit of an inch space between you and the bolster. Nice simple one. Now maybe bring another one of your blankets. So we're moving towards Shavasana. This is our last kind of counter pose, but towards Shavasana. So have those blankets draped over you. I'll take it off a moment so you can just see what my legs are doing there. Actually, a nice little guide for the legs. Always good to get them sorted before you come down. If you have a look there, you might be able to see that my left leg is bent and my big toe there is ready to hook around. I don't know if you can see it there. I'll give it a whittle. It's hooked around the flesh of my right calf there. And it's almost like I'm knitting my legs around each other, so that I don't need to use any muscle activity to hold them in space when I come down to my lying position. So I love that little position for the legs there. Okay, so my right thigh or my left thigh is kind of reaching forward. It's perpendicular to my bolster. Okay, I'm going to bring both hands either side of my bolster there. Come up onto your fingertips to give you a little bit of space. Lengthen. So we're twisting here to the left. Well, the whole body is twisting to the right, but we're coming to the left side of our bolster there. And we're lengthening through the whole spine here. And then just start to walk your fingertips forward as you come down onto your bolster, vertebra by vertebra, and come down nice and slowly now. See, can you come down so the center of your spine hits the center of the bolster there. So vertebrae by vertebrae. And the flesh, the breasts drop either side of the bolster there, okay? And then you're going to come down, leave your left hip up against the bolster, right leg on top. You're going to come down onto your left cheek there. I'm going to come onto my chin. And then walk the elbows out kind of wide enough so that the shoulders soften down towards the ground. A lot of the time we hug those elbows in towards the bolster, and if you notice then my shoulder comes up there. So let the elbows come wide on your mat there, fingertips nice and wide, palms pressing into the mat, or just gently taking the support of the mat there. And feel the lovely opening there to the top right hip. Feel the waist opening and feel that lovely corkscrew stretch through all the different parts of the spine. Notice the breath here. And see, can you expand the breath just a fraction? So just to the point where you can feel that same expansion that we felt before, and then the contraction that we felt before of the back of the respiratory system. So the back of the lungs there, lifting away from the bolster and then dropping back down. Lifting away as they expand, they're not actually lifting away, and then contracting. So even that little sense of, even though you're not lifting off your bolster, you do feel a little more buoyant off your bolster with your inhale. And then you definitely feel a little bit more solid and grounded on your exhale. Okay, gently get ready to move on to your second side now. So hands pressed either side of the bolster there to really slowly lift you up. And then you're just going to maybe bring the hands either side of the bolster with your chest facing towards the front of your mat. or whichever, or the back of your mat, and towards your legs. And just windscreen wipe your whole unit of your legs and your pelvis so that you are now on your right hip. And you have a little bit of space between your hip and the bolster. Let's do that little trick again, and you may be able to see it now at a different angle there from the back. So my right leg is bent, my left leg is bent on top of it, and I've hooked my big toe around the flesh of my left calf there. I'm going to get my blanket in place, and this time again now I'm going to have the fingertips either side of the bolster, lengthen through the whole spine. Take a big long inhale here, and then exhale. Walk your fingertips forward, gently bring yourself down onto your bolster, vertebrae by vertebrae. And just feeling that lovely gentle opening as you come down. Bring yourself down onto your right cheek now. And feel the difference now between right and left side body. I'm not even particularly getting into the conversation of describing it in your head, but just a sense of the contrast. So the kind of the right, the left side is kind of more open to the space and the air, and the right side maybe feels a bit more pressed. As we bring the body back to symmetry by doing our second side. And that little, remember that little cue again, just bringing the elbows a little bit wider if you need to allow the shoulders to soften so that they're not up around the ears. And coming back to your breath, feel the breath at the back of the lungs there as it expands on your inhale. And gently contracts and grounds down on your exhale. Okay, getting ready to move now. Just bring the arms in closer to your body there, press into your hands. Really gently lift yourself up. Pop your bolster out to the side there. I'm getting ready to come into our Shavasana. You might want to leave that blanket underneath your hips there, if it feels nice. Maybe lengthen the blanket that was on your legs over your body. And gently coming down to your Shavasana. So lengthen the legs out, maybe just shimmy the hips from side to side, lengthen that left leg away, let the leg drop out to the side, lengthen the right leg away, let the foot drop out to the side. And just make sure that the back of the pelvis feels nicely equal, grounded into the mat. A little bit of space between the arms and the body, palms facing up towards the ceiling. That just helps to open the shoulders out and let the shoulder blades softly settle onto the mat there. And feel the gentle weight of gravity pressing you down into the support of the ground there. Trace through the back of the body and feel the points of contact with the ground, the back of the heels, feeling the support of the mat and the lightness of the ankles as they curve away from the mat. Feel the back of the calves touching the ground, the back of the knees feeling light. tops of the legs and the tops of the thighs, or the pelvis on the mat. The lower back lifted away from the mat. The upper back pressing into the mat. The back of the neck lifting away from the mat. And the back of the skull gently pressing into the mat. All these lovely curves of our natural body. Gently now getting ready to come back into your day. Rolling over to your right hand side, taking a deep breath here. And then in your own time, making your way up to a seated position, hands in prayer position at your heart. Thumbs to your third eye, to your heart center, and namaste. Thank you for practicing with me.